Awesome. Dacia Daly, so good to see you. How are you?
Pretty good. Just, work from home life during COVID. The best of
Yes.
the best days. Here we are.
Yeah. What and tell me what you've been working on. Where are you working and all that good stuff.
Yeah. So I'm the marketing manager at Bowie Health, and we're Boston based. So we're completely work from home right now during COVID, as a health tech company. Right now, we're working on two major things. We have our Back with Care, which is basically a tool that helps people who have to go back to work, essential employees, people who are opening their businesses, do so safely. And then we have our Bowie Assistant tool, which really helps people figure out what's wrong without getting scared by Google and, get
Mm.
navigated right to the right care where they're able to save money and their time and just help their health in general. So we've been doing a lot from home, as you can imagine, during COVID.
Yeah. Yeah. How long have you been with Bowie? It's been a while, right?
Yeah, so I've been with Bowie for about 2 years. I started as their social media manager, actually, which might seem familiar to you, as we've worked together a bit on that type of work. And then recently, um, last year, I guess it is now, was promoted to their marketing manager and took on a whole new set of challenges.
That is fantastic. I think you are the second NIM intern who has made it to that level, which is fantastic. Such great
Oh,
news.
that's exciting.
But that's short time frame.
Yeah, startup life. I mean, things move very quickly. I feel like it's kind of a crash course in everything. To be candid, this Bowie was basically my first like real in-office job. Prior to it, I was doing a lot of like ad hoc work, due to like helping with family things at home and just needing that flexibility. So when I first started, I wasn't really even sure what a startup was, but was really into the message of helping people figure out the healthcare system. So signed up to do social media, was very open with them about wanting to pursue other marketing areas, that wasn't really my main thing I was looking to progress to do. And so when the opening came up, they made it happen for me, which has been really exciting and great.
Well, you are definitely a standout. When we first met, you were a URI student,
Yes.
right? Were you a junior or senior at URI? I can't remember.
I think it was my senior year actually
Yeah.
when we first started
Yes.
the internship.
The
Wild.
famous Ticnado project.
Yes, and that was my friends love to look at that video. I feel like my acting skills were great in it. I'm just gonna say I was recently in a demo video for Bowie, so I'm just really upping video credits here.
Do you get hazardous duty pay for that?
I probably should have. We only
Royalties.
the amount of rules we had to have in the office for that was crazy. But
Really?
yeah, masks, gloves, all the things. But limited video staff. I don't know how they're doing it in Hollywood, but it was crazy in a different way than our Ticnado video, but just as fun.
Yeah. Well, I got to wear the tick costume, so woohoo. But it's actually we have it on the ROINU website, but it's also if you just Google tick NATO,
Amazing. I'll have to show that to the
yes, you
team.
find it. Yeah, but we did really well with that. We got best viral video. That project was super interesting, and 6 months. We spent about 3 months training you, and we had three cohorts. We had to kick one out, but and
So
then and then we just totally ramped it up, and
yes,
we got so much visibility, like millions in views and awareness, and set up a lot of really great partnerships for
yeah.
the Tick Encounter team.
I actually love. I mean, Tom Mather's amazing. His eye for social media might not have been the best at the time, but even if you look at the Tick Encounter site now, it's clear that they've really taken on marketing to another level. And for me, and I think actually for Tom as well, this is one of my first ways to see like how much marketing can do
Yeah,
for someone and how it can change the perspective of people about something, like taking something as crazy as ticks and making it fun.
yeah.
Like such a crazy effort when I first started working with you guys. I was like, how will we ever do this? Um, and so to learn from like all of you and Julia and the rest of the team there, and how to work with different people of different backgrounds, with Tom being so science focused and us being so market focused, it was just interesting to see and like very helpful especially for the world that I'm in today, which is again like healthcare marketing.
Right, right. Yeah, it completely dovetails. And yeah, the other really great thing about it was the memes that you guys came up with. And I think you guys said like we should do some memes. And then the memes just were so funny. And I don't think if we hadn't done the memes, we would not have thought of Tignado.
I agree. Like, and I don't know if Tom would have allowed us to do Tignado. I think that played a large role in like his onboarding of excitement to do it, is seeing the success of how the humor can transform into a real marketing campaign, and how that can really reach so many more people than maybe a serious post might. You
Right.
know, like it's still the same message, just with a little twist, and it's really getting people to understand what tick season is, what your main message is,
Yeah.
but you can do that in an entertaining way.
Right.
And still drive that message home, which I think was so fun. Like it was just crazy how fun we made it to do those campaigns.
Yeah, no, it was an awesome project. And the other funny thing about that project was, the social media professional side, Julia, Scott, Catherine Galliano, and we all had really small kids. Like, so we would plan like 2.5, 3 hour meetings, and we would have our kids with us. And yeah, I mean, Elise was, I think, like 3 months old,
She was,
and Julia had the oldest, and I think, yeah, she had a 1 year old, and then Catherine had one in between, and it was great. I mean, it was so awesome because you guys were great. We had a great intern team, and we were just kind of able to make it work. I think it speaks to how even now in COVID, right, we're all working from home and like everything is a little bit crazy, but you can deal with the crazy and still be effective.
right. Yeah. And for me at the time, I was actually caregiver to my grandparents, like both of my grandparents,
Mhm.
which I don't know if you guys were privy to, but like I was able to help with this project and make it work, even though, and later work with Tom actually on like some other social media things from home, and still be able to, be with the family at the times I needed to. And that
Yeah.
flexibility, like, I don't know. Actually, like right after college, my family was pushing me to stay home and just kind of help with things. And I was like, I don't want to not work because I was enjoying my work so much. So having the flexibility to work with Tom and actually work with you on some things for NIM, and work
Yeah.
with Julia on the Bargain Bay blog at the time, all
Yeah.
of these things came from that internship opportunity. So I don't know where I'd be without it, to be honest. And I'm really grateful that I was able to have that time.
Yeah.
And
Well, we were really grateful to have all your focus and hard work and willingness to learn, because that is, to me, that's what's really key about interning, right? Is to just bring it and have all that enthusiasm.
yeah, I was
Yeah.
excited at the
No,
time.
it's really cool. So do you have tips for recent grads or our current students when it comes to like doing an internship and then how you can leverage that into a full-time position?
Yeah, I think that having an internship really gives you more confidence when you're going into job interviews. I think it can be really easy to get discouraged. I mean, for myself, I I was easily kind of thrown into for my internships to these opportunities with you guys. But then after that, when I had to go to interviews, I actually had kind of a tough time because I'd been working for myself, was seen as like too high for an associate level, but too low for a manager level.
Oh,
I was
interesting.
getting a lot of no's,
Mhm.
and I think that was mostly just because I hadn't done any. The only other internship I had done was with you guys, and then I kind of had a little gap in between the work with you guys,
Yeah.
which I think a lot of actually like working moms and people might face. And I think what helped me was realizing that the skills that I had were still relevant, one.
Yeah.
And even as a new grad, I think it's important to know that the skills you've learned in school are going to be helpful to the companies that you're applying for. You are an asset to them, just as they are going to be an asset to you. So basically, it's not just like your interview, like they're interviewing you. You're also interviewing them. Is this the place I want to be? Is this where I can do my best work? Will I learn here? And like remembering those things and not being discouraged by a no, maybe it's just not the right place for you.
Yeah.
For me, that's totally how I feel. I think waiting for Boo is the right choice. I got a lot of no's, but I got a few yeses that I didn't think were the right fit for me as well,
Hmm.
because I didn't think I would have room to grow. The yeses weren't the ones I wanted, I guess. Uh,
Right.
so I think remembering that and remembering your worth and remembering that if you can wait, or you can, and that's okay. Like you might not get your dream job, but maybe it's your dream company. And
Right.
kind of remembering those things. Like for me, I was like, I'm kind of bored of social media. I've done it so long. Like I want to
Yeah.
be marketing manager. But I love Bowie's mission. I love the idea of working with that team. So that was the position they were hiring for. I took it. You can also be candid about what you're looking for. You know, I'll take this role, but I'm looking to pursue this, and this is, can you help me there? And
Mhm.
you'd be surprised at the people that will help you along the way, I think, and how quickly you can get to where you want to be.
That's fantastic. And I think too that startup, right, is key, right? Because they're looking for people who are hungry and who want to grow and learn and be nimble and pivot and all these things. And I think that's super appealing for hiring managers to work with somebody who's like very young, who's young and hungry and has a lot of enthusiasm.
Yeah, I think enthusiasm is vital. I think
Yeah.
for any job, I think going into something that you're not excited about is sad.
Yeah.
If you're applying to these jobs and thinking, oh, they'll get me through. I mean, I understand that especially in COVID times, that might be the have to for now, but that shouldn't be like what you're looking for. You should be looking for a job. You have to wake up every day and go to this job. So I would hope you would be excited. And when you're excited, people can feel that and you'll grow and you'll learn, which I think is what we all want to be doing.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The growth mindset. So, can you talk a little bit about what types of things you are working on yourself, or what, when you talk about learning after graduation, what does that look like?
Yeah, so I've had a long road. I think I was so lucky to be mentored by all of the team that I internshiped with, but and I'm actually using a lot of the things that Sue you taught me and Julia taught me along the way. I started, working events with you, and we've continued that at Bowie. I planned our first office event where we had our new office unveiling, and luckily it wasn't the first event I'd ever planned because that would have been maybe a little scarier than I was ready to. And we had speeches and people come in, and luckily through my internship that was something that I was comfortable with, meeting people, greeting them, understanding the logistics of what we would need, such as name tags and all those things were stuff I'd learned from helping with NIM.
Yeah.
And that was actually really valuable to a company that didn't have an events manager to like pinpoint these things that might be missing.
Hmm.
Even though I wasn't my main role at a startup, you wear a lot of hats, so
Yeah.
um,
It's great. You get so much experience.
right. And so it also helps you figure out what you'd want to do, like what you're interested in. And that was a really fun thing. I did do the social media for a year. If you looked at back in the day, Bowie social media, that was me. And learning how to create hashtags, Instagrams, make a real brand. Recently, my biggest undertaking was helping with the rebrand of our business, um, which we did within a year, which was pretty exciting. So we have a brand new website, and that's just been so fun to see. We picked the colors, we picked the illustration, we picked the new value props, and I don't know, is that exciting? But it was to me. Uh,
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're invested.
yeah, so those are some things, and we work on client communications, how to get into the inboxes of our users, and how to really start to develop a brand that people are excited about as we are.
Yeah. No, that is so cool. So, what was your average day like before before COVID versus after?
So it hasn't changed too much, except that, now I'm in a tiny little apartment. We used to have a nice office that was only a 5-minute walk from my apartment, which was amazing. And I think the main thing that's changed that's been hard is that collaboration was very easy in the office. We were a small company of about, I think we were only 30 when COVID struck. Now we've doubled, so we're about 60 now, I believe.
Hmm.
Uh, so collaboration was easy. We could kind of talk to anyone at any time, pull somebody for a coffee to get your answers. Now everything being over Zoom and stuff is just not as organic. So we've been trying to figure out ways to deal with that, as well as like getting to know my other team members. When you're not in the office and you're hiring, it can leave, you not knowing people on different teams. Like our marketing team is very close, but engineering and design. So how are we able to bridge that gap and kind of still have your friends in the office and still have those relationships is something I think that has really changed, which organically, I don't know, I can be a little talkative. So I don't know before COVID if there was anyone I hadn't talked to yet. But now it's something that we kind of have to work through and set up coffee chats and get to know your team. And that's one thing that I think that you'd probably agree is so important. Like networking before COVID, I think was so much easier and something that we definitely did a lot of. Like we had office events where we introduced different clients, different people. So that's definitely changed for me. Now we have Zoom meetings and we're thinking about different ways to, change the sales dinner, and same thing for networking events for our peers and how we can help each other out.
Yeah, no, I think that that's really, it's tricky, right? Just to try to maintain those relationships, and what do you do to kind of pull everything together? It's, yeah, like I said, it's tricky. What about, are there any particular blogs or, resources that you tend to turn to keep current?
Current these days, I probably should have. That's a great question. Right now, I've been actually engulfed in learning Marketing Cloud. I don't know if you guys are aware of that, but it's basically a marketing automation system. So I have been really reading their primary marketing materials right now, just because I'm learning about marketing automation.
Mhm.
Um, but I mean, there's just so many good resources. I don't know, Sue, like name a couple favorites. Maybe it'll jog my memory. I'm sure you have some.
Well, and there's a lot of great podcasts. So, like
Oh,
I've been listening a lot to HBR, IdeaCast, um, not necessarily, Social Media Examiner, those
oh,
types.
yeah.
Yeah.
We are mostly my day, to be honest, like I have been mostly trying to keep up on healthcare news a lot of
Right.
the time, and HR. So I read like HR benefits manager, those things, which I know aren't as exciting as the marketing things,
Mhm.
but those are things I try to integrate into my work a lot is what's top of mind for our HR managers, which are our kind of buyer base,
Mhm.
and what's the top of mind for consumers, and kind of weighing them and thinking about how they can kind of tie in so that we don't have to customize too many materials. Because
Right.
a small team, the least customization is best.
Yeah, no, that's really key, right? Is to make sure that you're not having to reinvent the wheel constantly.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, no, that sounds really cool. So, what do you think made you stand out when you were looking, when you were applying for a job with Bowie?
Yeah, I asked that's a funny question because my friend now, Nate, who used to be my boss, when I first applied, he called me and I was really convinced that he was calling me to say I didn't get the job. I don't know why. I had thought I didn't think I did well in the interview actually. So I asked, like, what do you mean? So he was like, there's been thousands of applicants, is how the call started. And we're really excited that we chose you. And I
Oh,
thought he was going to say, I'm sorry that we didn't choose you. So I was very confused. So I was like, what do you mean? He was a little taken aback, but he learned that's kind of how I roll. So it was
yeah.
fine. But what he said was that, I never turned down the question. I was excited for the role. I had prior experience that was exciting to him to see. And I wasn't scared to go against his guidance. Like he basically wasn't the expert in this. So that was kind of why I thought the interview didn't go well, actually, because Nate would say something along the lines of, what do you think we should do for our social media? And I would say, well, we could go this way or this way. What do you think? And he's like, I want to know what you think. And so then I would pick one and I would say, this is the way I think we should go. And then he would just stare. And I said, right? Like, he's like, no. I'm like, okay. So then after that first question, I kind of just gave the rundown of like, this is what I think we should do. Apparently you're not sure, but this is what I would do. And I think like the confidence in that and not getting, I think that even when you're thinking you're doing poorly in an interview, do the best that you can, give the best that you can. Don't let it sway you. I wasn't sure if these were the answers that he wanted, but they were the best answers that I could give. And knowing that gave me the confidence to just kind of relay this information whether I was getting the positive affirmation that this was correct or not. I think,
Right.
People interview differently. So not wanting to sway an answer or not really wanting to hear what you have to say is great. And don't kind of get discouraged just because you think you answered one question wrong. Move on to the next one and be confident. Also, I made like which I know cover letters are not a big thing, but I wrote like a very persuasive cover letter for each job I applied to.
Mhm.
Um, at the time, I had switched from applying to hundreds of jobs, kind of like I talked about, because I was getting yeses from places I didn't actually want to work and no's from the ones that I did.
Yeah.
So I switched my mentality there and decided to just apply to the ones that really appealed to me and to go aggressively towards that. And I will say that startups usually have a more detailed interview process, in that they might
Mhm.
ask you for a test or things like that, which I know can also be standard at larger companies. But um, doing your best at those and kind of picking the places that you want to work and really making yourself stand out, I think is what got me it, is that I was very motivated and reached back out to talk to the team. Um, and yeah, I think that is just putting your whole effort into it in both the interview process, in the resume process, which I know is no fun. But I
Mhm.
think when you limit to the places that you think you have, one, a good shot of getting the job, and two, you're excited about, can really make it easier on you and help you through the process.
Right. So really niche down. So how did you come across the posting or that you
So
knew the job was open?
I was looking on Indeed
Okay.
at the time. I wasn't looking for startups. That wasn't what had narrowed down my focus to. I was looking for places in healthcare, because when I had done the previous internships, the place I had been most excited about was the work that I had done some in retail. I had done some in other things, but I still kept going back to the one I had the most fun, which was weirdly my ticket counter internship. And also I did one for a mental health. I did like a social media campaign for a mental health facility. And
Nice.
so I was like, you know what, that's the last time I was really passionate and excited. So I started looking into marketing opportunities at different healthcare options.
Right.
And so I was searching for Indeed for that, and I just stumbled across it. I had also applied for like a couple other nutrition based ones, but didn't really love those.
Right.
That's yeah, I would say like a lot of places post Indeed, LinkedIn. We are on Glassdoor. Um,
Nice. And what was your degree again?
my degree, let's see, what did I get? I got a double major in broadcast journalism
Yeah.
and British literature.
Wow. Okay. I
Interesting,
didn't know about that.
very interesting combination, with a minor in public relations, which is when I had started that, and that's how I had gotten into, which I is when I found out I liked marketing. um, because I
Right.
started to pursue marketing internships after I did a small broadcast internship that I really did not like, and kind of switched my thinking around what I wanted to do.
Cool. 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 Um, yeah. So any other tips that you think would be important to share?
Yeah, I think like going off of
Awesome.
the fact that we just brought up that I have such varying degrees from what I'm actually doing, is that you don't need to just stop yourself from applying to internships that might not be the best fit for your major. For me, like I remember applying to your internship and thinking, oh, I'm not going to get it because I am not in marketing. But that wasn't the case. And then I ended up doing great in this. It was kind of like stepping out of your comfort zone. If you know it's something you want, it's worth it. And your internships can really help you like give you a trajectory that you're looking for. It helps you not
Mhm.
limit yourself to just your degree. When you have those things on your resume, people aren't confused as to why you're applying for this job. For me, I think in the beginning, if I had just had my minor in PR with my random English degree and my journalism degree, if I had been applying to marketing, it might have been more difficult to explain how I would have the skills necessary to help in those roles.
Right.
But with my internships, it was clear, like, this is the value that I have. I had experiences to talk about for my internships, for my interviews. And it really just helped me to, sell myself and explain like that these skills that I'd learned were going to help this company. Um, and give me the confidence to do that, which I don't know without I would have had. So yeah.
Right. Yeah, but you had so much, you had done so many things and had so much experience that I think that's what really helped because, yeah, you were freelancing for other people too, right?
Yeah, so I had been freelancing before Bowie. I had been freelancing, but I'm talking about even those interviews where I was kind of having to go pitch myself to people and say like, "Hi, I think that I would be helpful for this."
Yeah.
Working on a bunch of different things with internships really it's almost like it reminds me of the startup thing, which is probably why I enjoy it so much, is that when you're on an internship, you kind of get to have a taste of a bunch of different things. For example, a meme campaign, how to use like social media ad buys, how to create a demo video or a fun video like we did. Um, and it just gives you a lot of things to pull from when you're
Mhm.
telling people that you understand how to do this and
Right.
give you like an understanding of, yeah, I'm ready for anything. I've done all of these things. And then in the next job, the next job, you have more and more to pull from. But internships are really the starting place of that
Right.
kind of basis, and it really puts you, I think, ahead of the pack when you've done this. Is that for I think my social media job at Bowie honestly was like kind of like a entry level job for them, but it set me apart, like my freelance work, my internship work, in that I was able to prove to them that I wasn't just an entry level and kind of move all the way up to a marketing manager within a year. So again, it's that background knowledge that allowed me to say like, hey, I know I'm doing social media, but also I think I could be an asset on this project and this project, and proving that and having the skill set that made all those things true comes from the past experience and put me ahead of I think that, there was also when in those thousands of applicants, I'm sure people who hadn't had internships, who hadn't had prior experience. I again was a little older, so I'm sure that put me a little bit as a top person.
Mhm.
But even
Mhm.
I think if I'd seen this job like fresh out of college with my internship experience, it would have put me ahead of people who didn't have internship experience but a similar resume
Right.
or
Right.
shared
Right.
background.
Yeah. And what about, can you talk a little bit about the value or what have you found value in networking and, is that how you got some of your other internships too, was through NIM and other
Yeah.
freelance work?
Yeah. So through NIM, I actually got my freelance work. I went with Julia and working with you to different ones. I'm like, which one was it? Was I working or was I going with Julia? I'm not sure. But
Yeah.
I had reconnected with a friend that owned a small business, Allie's Tech and Feed. And at the time, was working for you for NIM, was working for Julia for Bargain Babe. But I think I had recently stopped working for Tom at Ticking Counter. I think he had like a new round of internship. I can't remember what
Yeah.
happened. Or I think maybe he had a grant. Like you or I.
The
Oh,
grant
yeah, grad
stuff.
school is
Yeah.
confusing. But I had just recently stopped one of my jobs, and so I reconnected through the networking event, and then said, if you do had heard some complaints about, not having help with marketing, and so then from there was able to say like, hi, yeah, like I have these options, and also while I didn't get my next job through networking at Bowie, I was kind of like just a random posting. A bunch of my friends have gotten their jobs at Bowie through previous connections, through knowing people, and I have been able to, seek out contractors or hire people that I know through my network. So the value of that is it's just crazy. Like the more people that you can say that you're a hard worker, that they know that you do a good job,
Hmm.
is just so valuable because it kind of takes you it gives you that step up in the interview process because people know that your work is good and they know that you'll be an asset and they can kind of vouch for you. We have a lot of contractors on our team, and so a lot of the time we need work to be done very quickly. So if we know someone or we can refer someone that can do that, it's always a nice thing. It's always
Hmm.
give your friends work. And I think people are always excited to have a network that can fill needs that they have. So again, it's not just you like me helping you get a job, it's you helping me get the work done that I need to get done. And being able
Right.
to rely on those people is great.
Yeah.
And working is just the way to get your foot in the door of so many conversations. It won't help you get the job, but it can get you in the room, and sometimes that's the most important part, at least in
Definitely.
my perspective. It gets you in, so they can kind of you can have your voice.
Fantastic. What are some of the tools that you end up using? Like, are you active on LinkedIn? What are you finding?
Yeah, so we're active on all social media channels. We primarily use LinkedIn and Twitter for our B2B work, and Facebook and Instagram for more like consumer or hiring opportunities there. And it's a fun thing. Like our PR actually handles it. Our head of communications actually is handling that stuff now, which I was excited to turn over. But we're very active, and I think for myself, I don't use this LinkedIn as much as I should, but I'm always on there for communication. I'm kind of like a silent LinkedIn user in that I read everyone else's stuff and comment on it, but don't post enough. But that's really valuable. And I've had a few interviews come through LinkedIn where people are just asking to have informational interviews with me,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm always happy to do and excited actually about. Because I'm like, oh, you think I have information for you? How nice. Uh, Here, I'll share the knowledge that I have. But I think doing those types of things is so helpful too. Like being active on LinkedIn when you're looking
Yeah.
is so important, because sending a nice email to someone asking if they have guidance, a lot of times people are willing to help you, especially if it's someone that's a friend of a friend. Again, those networking opportunities will help
Yeah.
you out. But I've had a few people reach out and kind of ask the same questions that you've asked me today. So like, how did you get into the startup? What made you, like, where were you looking? Do you like it? Do you like working at a startup? What's it like? And kind of those things when you just may need some guidance on where you want to go and
Right.
what you want to do. I think that LinkedIn is a great resource for that. And even you can, post that you're looking for your job. I've actually had a couple of friends do that, especially during COVID, where people have been laid off due to COVID, and no faults of their own, obviously, saying they're looking. And again, those networking connections tag them in a bunch of jobs that they might be interested in, which can
Mhm.
kind of sometimes be the hardest part of applying to jobs. At least what for me is finding the ones that really excite you.
Right.
So if you feel comfortable posting something like that and have friends in your network that are in roles that or working at places that you're excited about, I think that's an obvious thing to take advantage of and can be really helpful.
Yeah. No, that sounds great. And so you've seen a bunch of friends get hit with layoffs and things like that.
Yeah.
In
I mean,
COVID.
for me, our company is able to work from home completely. I'm in Boston, so Wayfair is a big office here. I know they had some layoffs. We also had like TripAdvisor we'd seen. There's just some big companies that I think the industries are being hit and are having some layoffs. And so when I see my friends post who I know are great, would be an asset to any team, I'm always happy to share with anyone that I think could use their services or use that type of
Sure.
role. And
Yeah.
I hope like everyone does that for their friends and the people that have worked well with them.
Yeah, definitely. And has Bowie seen a big uptick with COVID being in healthcare?
Yeah, so we actually became the COVID tool for Massachusetts, which was
Wow.
exciting. And we have just seen a lot of people coming to our site to figure out whether they think their symptoms are concerning. We also have our Back with Care tool, which is being used around in offices around the country, where people are trying to make sure that their offices are safe and make sure that they're not, accidentally bringing COVID into the workforce, as well as people just wanting to have a sense of, normalcy amid
Yeah.
crazy.
Right.
But yeah, we've seen a huge uptick in users, and we're excited to be able to help so many people, which is really the overall goal of what Bowie does, is kind of helping people get the care they need when they need it, and just being a guiding hand on their journey. And so it's nice to have more people that we're able to help and dissuade their fears, hopefully, or get them to the care that they need before it's too late or concerning to them.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's so much need for information and assurance,
Yeah.
of like, okay, this is what I know. I listened to a webinar because I'm one of the co-founders and I'm the board president at Ciro's Montessori,
Oh,
and trying to decide how do we safely open up our school to 30 families, including our teachers, and they're in school full time, every day. And, so far so good, but we did a lot of work, particularly the safety team did a lot of work to make sure that we were doing everything that we possibly could. Um, and, but it was hard to find that information, I feel like.
Yeah, it can be really concerning and scary to have to open a new place. And that's kind of what we're trying to do. We have a playbook uh, for employers that are looking for guidance during this pandemic about what they can do most, as well as, like, we have guidance for consumers or our user base, as I would say, that people who just go to the website and go through a COVID interview, which is basically just like talking to your doctor about similar symptoms to COVID. And if you are symptomatic, what to do. So what does self-isolation mean? What does all of those things, what are my next steps? So that
Right.
there's educational value there, because a lot of it is fear. It's the fear of not knowing what to do, of how to stay safe. Am I okay? Where do I go? I can just imagine that finding a testing center is when you're sick, when you're feeling unwell, not
Right.
and Bowie kind of takes the guesswork out of that, makes it so that you can kind of just see, okay, this is the place near me where I can get testing. Um, what should I do next? Can I get tested at my PCP? All those kind of questions that,
How much does it cost?
yeah.
Yeah. Crazy. I know we're in such crazy times, but I'm certain that Bowie has good leadership in your direction and all the experience that you bring. And yeah, you just have this amazing enthusiasm and passion for what you do. And I think that that's hard to find in a lot of places. So
Yeah, I'm lucky. I'm lucky to be at a company that, excites me all the time and has given me the ability to grow. And I think that if more companies did this, people would be more excited about work. So that's my tidbit to anyone listening, is that, like, if you want your employees to be happy and work hard for you, invest in them, give them a chance to prove themselves, excite them with some challenges, and hopefully I'm not like scaring people, but I think it's fun to challenge yourself. I think that when you really have to step out of your comfort zone, it's because you're learning, it's because you're pushing yourself, it's because you're doing something you've never done before. And then the after, trust me, it's worth it. It's worth it to try to do those things, and it'll be worth it to your team, not just your career.
yeah. But obviously, I mean, they've built a culture of safety. Like, so if something doesn't go right, you must feel like, okay, I can experiment because I'm not going to get fired if I make a
Oh,
mistake.
yes, we have we say fail fast.
Yeah.
So we try a lot of new things. They're not all going to work. I think that's something that we understand. And just because you can be working hard and it can still fail. And I think that's something that, as a company, if you're asking people to do this, you have to have that level of safety and understanding. And also, we have a level of vulnerability within the company, where an openness, where we can say, in our retrospectives, really what we're thinking, what went well, what didn't, what needs to change. Recently, we had some project management issues just due to, not understanding each other's what people were working on, not having that transparency between teams about why things were getting pushed, and not having project managers in general, when that falls on you, like, why were things late? And um, you know there's some things. I actually just shared something on Facebook about parenting, but I think it also applies to work, is that there's some balls in the air, if you're juggling them, that are plastic and will bounce, and there's some that are glass that will break. Obviously, you don't want to drop a something that affects a major client. You don't want to be pushing back those deadlines. But if it's an internal deadline and it's because you were trying out something and it didn't work, but it was a great idea and now we've ruled it out, I think that's one that can bounce and you can try again.
Hmm.
So just kind of understanding, like, your must do's. And I think we're pretty strict about the things we have to do, but we're understanding of that. One, we're all working in COVID, so the challenges are immense, and we're all working from home, which is another struggle. Um, but that we're all working hard and that we value that. And luckily we've had great success recently, so
Yeah.
that's good to see. But when things don't work,
Right.
it's more about reassess instead
Right.
of
Right.
replace.
Instead of it's your fault.
Right. There's no blaming, which I'm so lucky. The team at my company is great. I started when we were only about, I think, like 20 people. That could be wrong, but we were in two offices, New York and Boston. So I think there was about like 12 people in my office. And I think we were able to really build a strong bond there and a strong understanding of the culture that was wanting to be inclusive of all people and also all opinions. So making sure that
Cool.
people, no matter the level, their opinion is valid. Because if I
Right.
think back, I was a social media manager and my boss was our chief growth officer, but he always really valued my opinion and took it in stride and understood if I disagreed and didn't kind of just ignore. Um,
Right.
there's like a level of humbleness with a team, and I think with people, if you really want to succeed in that, you admit that sometimes you can be wrong and another person can be right, and just learning and trying, or you could both agree to try both things, which we've done in the past too.
That's cool. Look
So
at it.
yeah, it's really awesome, and I have to say that the team is really great. We are hiring also. Um,
Good to know.
so
In
yeah,
what areas?
I think everywhere.
Yeah.
I
And
know we're
everyone's working remote, right?
and everyone's working remote, so we're hiring in a lot of different fields. And then we're also like we have our Boston office, which eventually, hopefully, one day will reopen because I am not made for work from home life forever. I'm
Mm.
missing my friends, but we have to be safe. And then we have a New York office, but we're hiring around the country, and we're most likely might have a work from home. We always have unlimited work from home actually,
Mhm.
um, and we have unlimited vacation, which has been really awesome.
That's great. Yes. Yeah. When I've seen, because we're friends on Facebook, you've had some awesome trips, which now that we're all in lockdown, I think, wow, it's so good that I feel the same about myself because I'm a big traveler. I'm really glad that I did the trips that I did and wasn't sort of waiting, waiting, waiting.
Yeah, me too. I was glad that I was able to, because I feel like a lot of time, especially when you're entry level, you're kind of grinding, and we definitely did. But there was also not a pressure, because that sounds bad, but like they wanted you to take vacation. It wasn't unlimited vacation with the idea that you'll never take it. I took probably 6 weeks my first year because I was
Nice.
going to Germany for a wedding. I was in like 4 or 5 weddings. And then I wanted to take a vacation for myself because weddings are not always a vacation when you're in them.
No, especially
Uh,
if you're in it.
exactly. It can be a lot of work being a
Yeah.
bridesmaid. So I was lucky to be able to do that. And I feel even luckier now that COVID's happening, that I was able to travel and enjoy. And I think a lot of people are seeing that during COVID, that when we always have had a flexible schedule, as in going to the office, we don't have 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Uh, so I was lucky in that, because when I first started Bowie again, I was still caregiving for my grandmother at the time. So when my grandmother got sick, I was able to work from the hospital if I wanted, though they did harass me into just taking some paid time off. But uh, like that flexibility, I think that comes with COVID is something that people have been excited by, and is something that I think is exciting for all of us, is just having that flexibility to make the schedule work when you can.
Right.
At least for me, I don't have kids at home, so I'm not dealing with kids in daycare. I'm sorry for everyone who's dealing with that struggle. I'm sure it's really difficult. Um, I can't even imagine, to be honest. But having the flexibility to, like, when things start to come up again, like hopefully one day kids have baseball games, I can, say I
Yeah.
work 7 to 3 so I can go to my nephew's game and no one is upset and there's not meetings all day. That's always kind of been nice, to be able to have the flexibility of when you can be in the office. And now it's kind of the same. We try to be the same during COVID, is that, you know, you don't have to be a 9 to 5. You can be a different time,
Right.
especially with, understanding that people don't have childcare at the same
Right.
times. Maybe you want to work I don't know, 12-hour day on Monday, because that's the day your mother-in-law comes over to watch the kids, and it's your only day to like really have all your meetings. It's like being, I think, honest with what's happening with each other, and also, again, the company allowing you to be that vulnerable and say what is going to work best for you.
And it sounds like they're not totally unrealistic about, like, when you think of startup, people think, oh, you're working 24 hours a day.
No. I
It's
mean,
actually
there's
very
definitely
reasonable.
times of crazy, but I think with anyone who's working in the healthcare field during COVID, they feel that, and much
Yeah.
more so than I, which is there in like very crazy situations, but even in health tech,
Yeah.
we've had some crazy weeks. I won't deny it. I think that there's times where I've worked 80 hours a week, but there's also times where the company said, okay, well, now take the whole week off because you guys just worked a lot.
Yeah.
So I think it ebbs and flows. I think
That's reasonable.
at a startup, you have to like kind of be ready to work really hard, but it doesn't feel that hard because it feels, it's almost like you don't want to put the challenge away because you want to solve it. You want to solve the puzzle before you put it away. Uh,
Mm, that's a great analogy.
Yeah, so that's kind of how it felt for me. I mean, I was a little tired, but I was still excited to be working,
Yeah.
even at like, you know, crazy hours. It doesn't feel exhausting when you're excited to be doing it. I don't think anyone should put up with a crazy pace all the time. I think
Right.
that, you know, we're
Not
expected to
sustainable.
work to meet these challenges, but also we're expected to, you know, when we have a lull, take the time. When you have an excessive week, say something, and maybe the next week take it a little easier, and kind of like go with that. And that's how you're going to get the best out of employees is when they're rested, when they're feeling like supported and cared for.
Well, and I would say that Bowie was probably in a better position to weather COVID with with this culture in existence, right? It wasn't like, oh, okay, now we have to figure out can people actually work from home, right? Because probably everybody had been working from home at varying points in time anyway.
Yeah, we already had it set up so people could work from home with you know, whatever that means for the computers. I don't know, but
Yeah.
we had that set up. We had people working from home. I mean, I think most of us were just sad about not being able to see our friends every day. I
Yeah.
say it as like our company reminds me of like a nice high school where I know it sounds like an oxymoron, but where you're like excited. You might not know everyone there, but you might not be best friends with everyone there. I mean, but you
Right.
know everyone and you're excited to see them. Almost like a friendly little neighborhood where you
Yeah.
like, so I think we were sad to be losing our office, which was kind of like our networking fun home,
Yeah.
but you're ready to work from home. Uh,
Right.
we had everything that we needed. We had our computers, we had, you know, and also Bowie was very generous in helping us set up our home offices if we needed help with that. Gave us like, I can't remember, a little stipend to help us
Nice.
like furnish something. And that's another thing. Like I'm in a 1 bedroom apartment, so that can be rough. But they recently just opened the office to have like one person per conference room if they need to go in and use,
Oh,
you know,
that's good.
people. Yeah, for the people, like, so basically you have to wear a mask in the office, but you can go and sit in your conference room alone. Um, for those who are really crammed in tight places in Boston, like
Or
me.
have kids climbing all over them at home.
Yeah, exactly.
Good.
Right. So I host our webinar program. That's another thing I do at Bowie. And so when I do that, I typically go into the office because my boyfriend also works from home. So it can't be totally quiet, uh,
Right.
which, you know, is a nice option to have. And also the company being understanding that if you want me to do this, then we can do this for you. And that kind of relationship is nice.
Yeah. No, I think that's fantastic. No, this is super. Okay, so any parting
Words of
thoughts?
I think
We
just don't
covered
get
a lot.
discouraged. Just don't get discouraged. I know COVID right now is scary and the job market is probably scary. Um, but there are places that are looking for you and are going to be excited to have you on the team. And also don't, if you are interested in anything that I talked about today, feel free to reach out to me. Always happy to talk, as anyone that knows me will tell you. And yeah, I'm just happy that I was able to hopefully help some people out. And if I can continue to do that in any way, help you, let me know. Happy to do so.
Excellent. Well, this is fantastic. All right, so we're gonna drop off on our Facebook Live here, but and then just stick with me because I want to do like a screenshot and all that good
Yeah,
stuff.
sure. Thanks
Awesome.
so
Okay.
much.
Yeah, thank you. Stop recording.